Welcome back to Ultimate DIYer. Today's episode is going to be day 2 of Paint a Master Bedroom. Watch to the very end to see the completed project. Okay, so now we're going to start putting on our paint. And what I usually do is I'll do my cut-ins first around the corner so it makes it easy. I have like these little nails. I'm not pulling these out because the customer wants the pictures to go right back where they were. So I'll go ahead and cut around those. Use my angled brush. And this is where I'd pull away from that tip. Some people, like I said, like to go the opposite way. I've never really been able to do that and make it look right. But I will do that around everything, and then I will actually start on my moldings and get this in really good so it's got a good coat of paint all the way around it. This will also make the ceiling better. The ceiling in this house is the same color as the walls, which tends to be the way a lot of people are doing it now today. I tend to think that that looks pretty good. Make sure that you have your tarps on the floor because you are going to drop paint. Yeah, that's going to take a little bit of work getting that around that because it's got so many crevices in it. And then underneath, that way I get a good coat. And when I go to roll, it'll work very quickly. So just like that. And then around anything that I don't want to take off the walls. Now you can take your time and tape those. I've done this so many times. I'm generally pretty good at keeping things off of it, especially with my angle brush. So I'm just going to go around it, pull, take it and pull away, let the bristles kind of follow the contour of what you're trying to do. Just like so. I don't know if I'll block the camera view here, but I'm going to try it from this side. Wipe off the excess and pull that quickly. So now when I get my roller, that I don't have to get right up on that. Okay, same thing here. I go ahead and I'll put a little between just to make sure that I have everything covered. This is all going to be covered. This is going to be covered. I definitely don't want to paint on the switch. Really doesn't matter a whole lot here, but I don't want it to actually cause it not to go on correctly. It's a special light that the metal bracket slides here and then mounts up there. So, and like in between, same thing. I'll take and I'll pull right down the center. A couple of little slides, make sure I've got enough paint on there. And that is done. So I get asked quite a bit, what's the correct technique for painting? I'll start with a little roller just to kind of give you an idea so it's easier to see. But what you want to do is you want to go in straight motions up and down. I tell you what, I'm going to start over here so you can see where the difference is, where you see the shine. But I go up and down. And I try to carry that same motion all the way down, making sure that I get it covered. Now I'm going to re-dip my roller, and when I go for the second row, I want to slightly overlap, like right in here, maybe 2-3 inches. That way I do not miss anything. Now the problem with going, say, back this way is it changes the shine, changes the shine of the paint a little bit. You have what's called flashing. And when you flash, come back later when it dries, you'll be able to tell where I went one way and then went the other. So you want to try to keep that always straight up and down, like so. And you always overlap. Make sure you overlap or you'll have streak marks. Now, when you're using the big roller, works the same way. My big 18-inch roller, get it nice and wet. But what's cool about this is it covers a lot of ground quickly. So if you've got a big room and you don't have a power sprayer, or for whatever reason you're not using your power sprayer, 18-inch roller is huge difference. I mean, you can cover so much more ground. Yep, but the same technique goes. You need to make sure that when you start that next row, now I'm going over it several times. I've got a heavy texture here. But you want to make sure that you're overlapping into that wet paint and that you're going the same direction. Just like that. Now here I've got dry spots. I can see it. I'm running out of paint. So I'm going to add a little more paint to get this done. Just like that. Now I've already cut in around this. That's a little too much. I pushed a little too hard. So we'll move that off. Just like that. Keep it from running. Now I've left these nails on purpose because this customer wants to put all their pictures back in the same place. Most of these I have cut in around already. You get a little paint on it though, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to see that. Normally, I would pull all the nails out and fill in the nail holes. But like I said, these are going back to the exact same location and that's the way they want it. So I look for anything that has gray shading in it and I try to make sure it's covered. Now, you're going to do 2 or 3 coats. This is the exact same color. It's probably not going to require quite that much. We'll see what it looks like when it dries. Now, the ceiling, my ceiling in this one is the exact same color. Makes it really nice for cutting in. This is where a good handle comes in where I can extend it and I can cover the whole ceiling. So in a nutshell, that's the basics of doing your painting. I've already pre-cut everything in. I've still got a little bit more to do right here at the top. Go ahead and do that real quick so I don't forget. And when you push hard, you'll put a line out. So you have to be careful and go back and clean that up or those lines are going to show up. And as you're going, you constantly keep looking back at your last work where you were painting last and make sure that you don't have runs. Clean those up. They can be cleaned up after, but it's a whole lot easier to catch them right now. So let's put you back on time lapse so that you don't go insane watching me paint walls. Please pound the subscribe and like buttons and be sure you ring that bell notification button so you don't miss any future episodes. So another thing to keep in mind is use a good bright light, because if I use the light, I can actually put it on here and I can see areas that I did not hit quite as well. So I can go back. Let's see, let me try the light from over here where maybe the camera can pick it up a little better. I can see it, like, see a line right here. And it's right here. Possibly a little bit right here, but some of that was already got earlier, so it may be drying. But you can see areas that were missed. So you'll take your roller again on those, make sure that you got them, like right here. And make sure if you put a lot of paint that you're not leaving a ring of paint. Like right here, I can see a little extra paint, so I lightly touch that, get it to where it looks a little better. Pretty much like that. Okay, so now at this point, we're going to actually cut in around the trim. Make sure that your tarp is up close to the side. And you don't have to worry too much about getting paint on the trim, because you're going to go back after you paint it, put blue painter's tape across the top to protect the wall, and then you'll paint your trim. I use a dampened, not soaking wet, but dampened towel to cover it. Clean it. Okay. But what you are going to probably need is some tape, and there's several types of tape. This is the Scotch blue painter's tape, which is used everywhere. I use this quite a bit. You also have a tape called frog tape, which is a really good tape as well. I use that in certain situations, especially around doors and where I need a really sharp, crisp edge. I know a lot of painters use frog tape exclusively, but I still like the blue tape. If you go buy this at Home Depot, you can buy it in a pack like this of 6, or you can buy it individually. If you buy it individually, you're looking at about $8.50 a roll.
So when you start installing your tape, you want to make sure that you take your time and get a nice straight line. It'll seem extremely painful and time-consuming putting this tape on the walls and on the carpet, but I guarantee you it will save you a lot of time and effort later down the road. You may find yourself pulling the tape back loose and trying to line it up so that you don't have any gaps. I find that actually putting a short piece of tape on each end and squaring that off makes for a much crisper straight line. When cutting in around windows, you can either tape them or you can use a good angle brush and take your time. I'll give you a quick demonstration here on how I actually cut in around a window without taping. Just be sure and use the angled part of the brush and pull the paint. Just keep a wet rag handy in case you make a mistake. You can always clean it up. I always pull my tape when it's wet. That usually gives you the best possible lines. And afterwards, go back and look for areas like this one that have drips and clean them up with your brush. You can clean it up afterwards with a little sandpaper and repaint, but that's very time consuming. Just try to catch it early. So here's the completed project. We've already moved all the furniture back in, hooked up the TV, hung up the drapes, cleaned everything, vacuumed, made sure that it was spotless. Some of the biggest challenges are remembering things like how to hook the TV back up correctly. I would suggest taking a lot of pictures of all the lines. It'll make it much easier for you at the end of a job. One of the comments that the customer made was that they didn't smell the paint. If you're using a good quality latex, you won't smell a lot of paint anymore. That can be a big plus. We also changed out the registers to the new plastic registers. That made a huge difference in the way the room looked. And when we did that, I did paint the inside of the duct as well, just to get rid of any mold. So this brings us to the end of this episode, and now I'm loading up my trailer and getting ready to roll. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We really appreciate it. It helps the channel to grow.